Greetings from Deal. This is poison making video number 12, mainly covering the Gates of Discord expansion. So the two expansions following Plains of Power include Legacy of Yakesha and Lost Dungeons of Norath, or Eldon. These two expansions are relatively unremarkable in terms of poison making. What they did give us were these Magnuses, and these Magnuses are cool. You can hail them, and they allow you to transport to this place called Nadira's Landing. And these transport you pretty much all across Antonica. It's another means of easier transportation. Plains of Power helped out a lot, but these Magnuses, they help you get to different places in Antonica, Abysmal Sea, Nadira's Landing. It always rains here, I'm sorry. So, I did want to mention Lost Dungeons of Norath just very briefly before I get into the poison making aspect of Gates of Discord. Let's go to Butcher Block, let's go to Everfrost. Okay, so once Lost Dungeons of Norath drops, rogues can start doing collections for their Epic 1.5 and their 2.0, since some of these drops are pre-lootable. Okay, and so I know this is a poison making video, and but it's kind of impossible to talk about poison making since it's a class specific trade skill and not talk about the rogue as a class. And since we're mentioning the rogue as a class, we're inevitably going to talk about the rogue epic and everything else a rogue does. So, a lot of our AA abilities and a lot of our combat abilities and our epic clicky, as well as our poisons, are all designed to work in conjunction with one another. There's a lot of crossover. I think I mentioned Guide of Toxicity or Docent of Toxicity, which it's kind of like Champion for poison-based damage. And Twisted Shank is another. We call it Twisted Chance, but in later expansions it's called Twisted Shank. These are, again, benefit your poison damage. We also have weapons that do poison damage, poison-based damage. So anyways, before we get to Gates of Discord, I did want to mention Eldon. There's a hard group instance called Miragul's Menagerie. Okay, so the hard version of the group instance drops Miragul's Reanimation Formula, which you're going to need for your epic, and it's pre-lootable, so you can loot this during the Eldon expansion with the intent of using it during Omens of War. So you can start your epic in an earlier expansion. Now, excuse me for a minute. Okay, so it's pre-lootable. You can also do the Miragul's Menagerie raid instance, and Miragul's Reanimation Formula is available in the raid instance as well. Now, the raid instance also requires that a rogue pickpocket to start the raid. So your entire raid will need a rogue. So rogues are still useful. They actually become increasingly required for certain raids. As we get to the Prophecy of Ro, rogues have to disarm a certain number of traps, and then they get the highest skill in disarm traps in the game. So, in later expansions, we're not able to progress in certain raid content without a rogue constantly disarming traps. In the case of Eldon, a rogue needs to pickpocket in order to start a raid. So, it's just one side note before we go into Gates. It's pretty much here, so just remember Miragul's Reanimation Formula and the raid and group instance of Miragul's Menagerie. Hang on, let me just... I don't know why these guys attack me. They should at least con me and see what I could do to them. Alright, so let's go back to Nadira's Landing. Okay, Nadira's landing, and it's probably going to be raining again. I'm sorry. We go to Nadira's landing, and then we go to Abysmal Sea. All right. Yep, it's raining. It always rains in Abysmal Sea. It's kind of like the Seattle of EverQuest. All right, let's go to Abysmal Sea. Okay, so the 3 parts of Gates of Discord that I want to mention are sort of related to poison making. It's not a big expansion for poison making, but it's a lot better than Legacy of Yakesh and Lost Dungeons of Norath. Okay, so the Magnus will take you to the shipwreck. Okay, there's Abysmal Sea is basically a giant ship in a cavern, and so what you're going to do is you're going to leave the Magnus here, and you're going to go down to one of the lower decks. You're going to go to the western part of the zone on a lower deck. Okay, and really the purpose of this are for rogues that haven't gotten around to leveling up their poison making. Let me see if I remember this correctly here. Okay, his name is, there he is. This is for rogues that haven't gotten around to leveling up their poison making. Here's the guy. And it's also, so this is a catch-up. This is designed to get rogues caught up in their poison making, because you're going, if you want to do the epic 1.5 and ultimately the 2.0, you have to level up your poison making. There's just no way around that. You could try to bypass that, but that requires the human illusion, and the human illusion drops out of Vexthal. So A, it would require that your Vexthal keyed. B, you'd have to go through all of Vexthal to get to one of the second to the last mobs. C, loot the human illusion form, which drops off the South Blob in Vexthal. That's a rare drop off a mob that is like an end game mob, and that takes like a good 3-4 hours in Era just to get to him. And it also means that you're competing against other rogues and bards that might also want the human illusion. So in order to bypass the poison making part of the epic 1.5, you need a human illusion mask, you need it equipped, you need to cast a human illusion on yourself, and you need to bypass the poison trade skiller for the epic 1.5 by paying him 10,000 plat. So you have to bribe him, and you need the human illusion. So anybody that has the human illusion, first kudos. It's very, very difficult to get that in Era. And if you're able to bypass that part of the quest, all to avoid poison making, good for you. I think it's just much easier just to make poisons. So if you haven't gotten around to making poisons and level up your poison making, you're going to visit this guy in Abysmal Sea. So again, he's underneath the decks, and he's on the lower left-hand side of the shipwreck in Abysmal Sea. Okay, just going to hail him. Okay, and you say willing, and he wants you say useful to him, and he gives you this jar. Okay, all right, so what you're going to do is you're going to find a poison making table, or get yourself poison making mortar and pestle. So let me go ahead and summon my coffin pile. And so what he's going to do is he's going to give you all the materials that you need to level up your poison making and get your poison making to average. It gets you to about level 54. So let's go ahead and experiment, and let's put these 2 ingredients in here. Okay. Now, you just made a simple universal suspension. Okay. So let's just go into trivial. Simple universal suspension. So this trivial's at 31. So this will get you up to a skill level of 31. After you've got your skill level up to 31, you hand all of the combined simple universal suspension, a stack of 20, give it back to this poison making guy, okay? And then you hail him again, and he gives you increasingly more difficult poisons to make. And so what this will do, this is a freebie. This gets you from a level 0 poison making ability to a 54, so average. So the cool thing about this is you don't have to do any traveling, you could just stay right here in Abysmal Sea. I would say it takes about maybe an hour to get to about 54, probably less than an hour. And it's designed to get you caught up. And you can do this with all trade skillers, so all of the general trade skills as well as the class and race-specific trade skills. So let's just say I was a gnome and I wanted to work tinkering. I hadn't gotten around to training up tinkering. I could do this with tinkering as well. So there are other quest givers in this zone which allow you to train up, pretty much all the trade skill, at least get your trade skill up to average. Another cool thing is this zone is in sea. It's a great fishing spot, and the fish that drop here can be used in baking recipes that can get you to max skill in baking. Gates of Discord and the Abysmal Sea is a great place to get your trade skills caught up, including poison making. So again, you are going to need poison making. The rogues, for their epic, they're going to need to they're going to have to make poisons, very high level poisons for the human part of the epic. There's several different racial peoples that are going to need different trade skills done for them. That's how the rogue epic starts. So with baking, it's going to be the Vashir, and they're located on the moon on Sharbal. With brewing, it's the halflings. Let's give a cheer for the halflings. Yay! And so you have to brew for the halflings because they like their jum beer. All right, and then for the barbarians, you have to tailor. For the humans, you need to make poison. And for the dwarves, you need to practice smithing. Okay, now a lot of your smithing should already be close. If you played through the Lucklin era, your smithing should be close to about 150, especially if you made your Cerubane. Your smithing should be high enough such that you don't have to practice. You don't have to use the Abysmal Sea trade skillers. Okay, this guy right here is one of your epic mobs. You have to kill some. You have to kill 3 bards for the epic 1.5. This is one of them you have to kill. So, anyways, we're going to go back to the Magus, and he's right up here, I believe. There he is. And okay, so that pretty much covers the epic and poison making. So you see where there's crossover between poison making and the epic. So inevitably, you're gonna have to make poisons whether you want to or not, especially if you want your epic. So let's go to Natimbi. This guy's also a vendor. Let's go to Natimbi. Okay. So the second thing you're gonna have to make, something called Bite of the Icav. This is also for your epic. This is also something that you can pre-loot during the Gates of Discord expansion, okay? So Omens of War haven't dropped. Omens of War is, like I might have said, Omens of War is when the Epic 1.5 and 2.0s come out. And you need to make this poison called Bite of the Icav, and that is going to require something called Venomous Secretions. And Venomous Secretions, they drop in one of 2 places. They drop in either Kadtaz or Texbu, okay? These are Gates of Discord progression zones. So Kadtaz, for example, you need to do the tipped instance and successfully complete the tipped group instance in order to get keyed into Kadtaz. Tipped is through Kanimi, which I zoned in to Nadera's landing. I actually zoned in to Natimbi from Nadera's landing or from the Abysmal Sea. Okay, so here I am in Natimbi. You can head north to Kanimi, and I apologize for these names, but you could head north into Kanimi, and from Kanimi you can then go to Tipped and run that instance. Again, you're going to have to do the Tipped instance in order to get keyed into Kadtaz. Once you get the Kadtaz key, then you can start looking for those Venomous Secretions, okay? Now, let's go to Kadtaz. So Kadtaz is, the zone into it is one of 2 ways. You can either hail Madrona, that requires even more keying, We're not going to really go into the Gates of Discord keying and progression. We're just going to click on this stone. This is the stone that you need tipped in order to enter. Okay, and the mobs that we're looking for can be in one of two places. They can either be in Kodtaz, the Broken Trial Grounds, or they can be in Texavu, the Lair of the Elite. And these drop off of either an ICAV binder, an ICAV detainee, or a Pixed Arm Strangler. Okay, so what I'm going to do, right now I'm shrouded. So the one thing you'll notice with Gates of Discord, when we go from Planes of Power to the Gates of Discord era, you'll notice that these mobs, they hit a lot harder. They don't have a lot of hit points, but they hit a lot harder. So a lot of them have Spirit of the Wolf, and they're buffed, and they're kind of pains in the butt. I know Necros really don't like this expansion because you really can't dot anything because they don't really have a lot of hit points. So I know that Necros get a lot of they don't really care for this. Any kind of like slow DPS class, they don't really like this expansion. So this expansion, the mobs that you kill tend to have they hit hard, but they also die hard. Okay, and so they require burst DPS. And I just give you an example. I'll take out this Rabid Fury and just show you approximately. They're all about the same level. So let's just go ahead and kill him. So he's not hitting me too hard. Granted, I'm level 80 and I've got all my, AA abilities. I haven't even used any discs or anything. Alright. So anyways, and I really should have Annulus here helping me track these guys down. So I'm looking for an ICAV Ruiner or a Pixed Arms Air Strangler. Pixed are these guys that are in chains. ICAV Binder. There's an ICAV Binder. So I'm going to probably... Let me see what I can do. Let's try Fade Lure right here. Fade Lure. Alright, let's go back into Shroud. Alright, here's an ICAV Binder. Let's just hope that she drops it. I'm not going to hunt here for a super long time. Okay, so there she comes. So he is now mezzed. Okay, she has Swarm Pets on me. Okay, I think... Yeah, I got Venomous Secretions off of her. That's awesome. Alright, and let's go ahead and escape. So he is none the wiser. Yay! Okay, so that was a Kiv... I think that was an ICAV Binder. Drop these Venomous Secretions. So these Venomous Secretions are used for your Epic 1.0. And they were used for the poison-making part of the 1.0. Alrighty, so that was Kodtaz. Okay. You can also run to this place called Quivik, and from Quivik you would run to Texavu. You can also get to Texavu by hailing Madrona. That requires even more keying, but Venomous Secretions do drop off some mobs there. So, if you're a rogue and you're starting to progress through Planes of Power, and you're getting into Gates of Discord, and you're getting into further expansions, and you're interested in getting your 2.0, you're going to need poison making, and you're going to need to make these Venomous Secretions. I'm going to head up to Plane of Knowledge and make the Bite of the ICAV. And then we'll show you one more aspect of Gates of Discord that's worth mentioning. Let's see, what else? Yeah, so as I said, like with the Epic 2.0, you can bribe one of the trade skillers, paying them 10,000 plat, and you have to be in the form of the same race of the trade skill quest giver, and you have to have the mask equipped. So, for example, if you're doing the Vashir baking, that requires the guise of the hunter, so you need to be in Vashir form for that. So what you do, say I were bribing the Vashir, I would equip the mask, right? And then I would be in Vashir form. Then I could pay the Vashir quest giver 10,000 plat to bypass that bypass that part of the epic. And you can only bribe one quest giver at a time. I need a light source here. There we go. That's a little bit better. All right. So you can only bribe one quest giver for the entire epic. So, I mean, if you're going to bribe anyone, it would be the human, but the human illusion is just so hard to get. I mean, it's dropped from an endgame instance, and it's hard to get people to stay in Vexthal. Vexthal is a real pain. So it's really, really difficult to, get people up there, get them to stay with the raid all the way to the end, kill the second to the last blob, and get that, and then there's a small percentage chance that the illusion will even drop. So, okay. So, let's look up Bite of the ICAV. So, it's probably better just to train up poison making. Alright, so we need a sealed poison vial and a constrict suspension. Sealed poison vial, boom. And a constrict suspension. Okay, so if you're in Era, what I'd also recommend doing, let's go ahead and combine that, and there's Bite of the ICAV, yay! And this is an applied poison. That's what's interesting, is it's an applied poison. It applies a dot. It's a level 55. It does 46 damage per tick for 30 seconds. Not bad. What was I saying? So the cool thing about I forgot what I was going to say. I'll remember later. Let me go ahead and head back to the Abysmal Sea, and I'll try to remember what I was talking about. Okay, so I remember what I was going to say. If you're in Era, what I'd recommend doing, because those venomous secretions are pre-lootable, I would loot as many as you can if you're in a guild, and make sure that all your guild rogues have those venomous secretions and are able to make a Bite of the ICAV. I'm going to go back to Nadira's Landing and back to the Abysmal Sea. So they're tradable. Make sure that all your guild rogues have them. Make sure that your friendly rogues have them. They do make a low-level applied poison, which is a nice to have. Oh, it stopped raining. Nice. Hail. And we're going to go to Abysmal Sea. One thing, because you have to train up your other trade skills, including baking and brewing and tailoring and blacksmithing. Like, I already had blacksmithing up because of the Seru Bane, but the other trade skills, I went ahead and just leveled. I leveled baking and brewing and got those both to mastery. And I was able to get the Den Mother's Rolling Pin, when Prophecy of Rogue dropped, as well as the Brewmaster's Mug. These are trade skill modifiers for these general trade skills. And I mean, you can make some really nice food and drink in this game. And I'll give you some examples. This, I'm probably mispronouncing it, it's called Arias Nostrum. This is food that has AC on it, 10 to all resists, 25 hit point mana endurance, and 5 to all stats. I mean, that's from food. And then there's this item called Quarkin's Timeless Trail Rations. So Quarkin's Rations give you 15 AC, 50 hit point mana endurance, 15 to all resists, 2 to corruption, with exception of corruption here, and then 8 to all stats. As far as stats, at this point in the game, we're all stat capped, but resists are nice if you're not resist capped. And it's, hey, 25 AC, 25 mitigation, that's pretty nice. So, you're able to make advanced food items, and since you have to level those abilities anyways, I figured, hey, why not just take it to the highest level it can go. It's actually, for brewing, it's actually not that hard. And for baking, baking's not that hard. It just required a lot of Misty Thicket picnic baskets. So I'm going to go to the last person here, and I'll be right back. Okay, the last part of the a Gates of Discord expansion. It really relates just to the epic. We have to find this guy, Snoken Breaksteel. Snoken Breaksteel. So what you do is you go to this guy, and what you're going to do is he offers a Gates of Discord, refined raw Gates of Discord materials. Okay, so different trade skills, like a raw material will drop, such as Miramite blood. That will drop. You hand Miramite blood into him, and he changes it into something else. Another thing that drops are, which you're going to need for your epic. He'll make these things called aligned ore. And so what you're going to do is you're going to give him aligned ore, which he turns into aligned steel. Okay, now you can make aligned steel yourself, but if your blacksmithing isn't high enough, then you'll only make one, or you could fail. But if you give him those 2 aligned ores, he'll make them into aligned steel. You're always guaranteed 2 from this guy. Okay, the reason I'm mentioning this is for the blacksmithing part of the Rogue Epic 1.5, you're going to need aligned ore that you're going to use to make a shield, which you give to a guy in Caledon, a dwarf in Caledon. Now, you could pay that dwarf off, but you have to have the dwarf illusion mask with the illusion mask equipped, and you have to be in that illusion form. You could bribe the dwarf for 10,000 plat, or you could just do his trade skill tasks. So it's kind of up to you. If you really despise trade skilling, you can bribe one of them, but you do have to trade skill for the other 4. You can only bribe one of those quest givers. So anyways, that's really it for Gates of Discord. Other than the venomous secretion, there's no new poisons to make. So really, the point of this really is just to mention pre-lootable stuff. Pre-lootable stuff for Omens of War, which you're ultimately going to need for your epic. So we'll pick this up when Omens of War drops. I hope this was informative, and hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.